Sourkidsproductions.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Final Drive here at Sourkidsproductions. It is Alec, it is DeAndre, it is Makai back in studio. We have Kenneth behind the computer, always doing magical work for us. Gentlemen, it's been a little couple weeks for us or so, I would say. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about, kind of recap free agency. The NFL draft is just around the corner. We'll be doing a live stream here, doing the draft as always. And then, hey, NBA playoff time is here. It's kind of like that pinnacle time for sports because the NFL is about to kick off with the draft. The NBA is in the postseason mode. Baseball's in full swing. The hockey is about to be in full in playoffs as well. So it's a good time. Gentlemen, before we get into the everything that has happened, how we doing? It's been a minute.
Oh, life's great. Just moved into a new apartment. You know, a lot closer to the guys. Life is good. Weather's great. Traffic sucks.
Yeah.
Adult things.
I feel that. DeAndre, how you doing, my dude?
Pretty good. Had a show here yesterday. That was really good. You know, did a CBM talk for our channel. Here over at Sour Kids Production had you on it, Alec, which thanks for being on. Kenneth was on as well. Shout out to Kenneth for setting it all up. But yeah, it's been pretty good. Channel's been doing well. Work's been tiring, but you know, ready to get back to school in the fall, and then also trying to get this job at UNT, so we'll see how that goes.
Running the house?
Yeah, running the house.
On some Harry Potter type shit?
Yep.
What kind of house are you going to make it? You got to influence the college kids.
Yeah, I mean, I did the Potter test, and I was a Gryffindor, but I'm also like kind of like a Ravenclaw. Like because Gryffindor is highlighted in the movies a lot. I'm gonna go with the school that wasn't really showcased. So I'm gonna go with the Ravenclaw type of house. Type of vibe,
I feel that.
Okay.
That fits well at UNT, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think it fits the demographic at UNT.
Yeah, right.
Maybe. But yeah, hey, it's been great. You know, it's good to have you guys back here chatting about sports and all things NFL and NBA. Let's just dive right into it, gentlemen. Of course, free agency happened. Lots of interesting things that are still going on. Obviously, the Lamar Jackson situation, Aaron Rodgers, that's still very much fluent, and we don't know how that's going to turn out. But free agency, what were some of y'all's takeaways a few weeks ago when all that went down?
Jerry Jones opened up his wallet a little bit. We love that. Got a little non-frugal. And honestly, to be honest, the rich just got richer. Like teams that lost people, integral pieces like the Chiefs, they made good moves on the edges. They're saving some money, you know. And then just some of the bottom feeders just grabbing just quality guys for some cheap contracts. Because it just seems like free agent money isn't what it used to be. You used to see those guys get the long-term 5-6 year deals. Now it's just 1-2 prove it deals, and it's helping these small little market teams get some names and sell tickets.
Well, definitely because every year, you know, the market like goes higher and higher. So players obviously don't want to sign a long term deal; they want to sign those short term deals so they can get back into the market with the higher market. So I see that as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You mentioned the market dried up for, you know, several players. In particular, I feel like the safety market dried up real quick. The tight end market dried up real quick.
Yep.
And even the running back market, because we saw a guy like Austin Eckler who has led the NFL in touchdowns, you know, the last 2 or 3 years. You know, he's a scoring machine. He's very great out of the backfield as a pass catcher. And you saw him openly and publicly demand a trade. And the Chargers said, okay, go find your market. And then he came out and said, yeah, I might have to come back for another year.
That's some shit.
That's
got to be disheartening. Like you have this image of yourself, like you have these stats, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get what I want, and then crickets on the other end of the phone.
Yep.
That's gotta suck.
Or even a guy like Zeke, who you know, for a good 3-4 year run was arguably one of the best backs in football, and being cut from Dallas, he has no market really. That's a guy who probably is going to end up playing for vet minimum somewhere.
Come on home, Zeke. Come on home. I miss you.
Come back to Dallas.
Come back to Dallas.
Well, no, you're right. I was going to say they kind of already gave his jersey number away, but I heard he was going back to 15, wasn't he?
He wants to go at 15, yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, but it's just weird how, I mean, another Cowboy, Dalton Schultz. That was a guy who Say what you want. I'm not very big on Dalton Schultz because I know how that offense works for Dalton Schultz. But that's a guy who put up good numbers on paper back-to-back years. Bet on himself this year, and he got a 9-year, $1 million deal in Houston.
Now you play for the Texans. Have fun with that.
I mean, you saw the Eagles lose their entire defense pretty much on top of their coordinators. So you kind of got to wonder, will there be a hangover for that Philly team this year?
I feel like the coaching staff, sure, there might be like getting adjusted to the new coaching staff. But as far as losing players, I don't really like. A lot of people consider Philly like a free agency loser because of the losses that they've had. But I still think that they're a very competitive team. And we look at like the loss of Javon Hargrave, but you drafted Jordan Davis last year, hoping that he has a big second year as a sophomore player in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You lose TJ Edwards to the Bears, but you drafted Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round of last year, who a lot of people thought was a 1st round pick, but he had that shoulder injury going into the draft that dropped him all the way to the 3rd round. You lose Isaac Seumalo at the offensive guard position. He goes to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
But then you drafted Cam Jurgens last year out of Nebraska, who's a riser throughout the draft process. He's supposed to be the replacement for Jason Kelsey, but Jason Kelsey decided to return for another year, so he'll probably start at left guard. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you lose him to Detroit, which was surprisingly, especially considering what he got in Detroit. The contract, but you signed Terrell Edmonds. I don't think he's. I don't look. He's not compared to like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like he's great as because he can line up as the slot as a nickel corner, and I think he's a better man coverage player. But I think Terrell Edmonds is better as a zone coverage safety. So somewhat of a loss, but I still think Philly has a very competitive roster, and then also. Another thing that I thought was big for them is signing Marcus Mariota as a backup quarterback.
They got him. Wow, I've not been paying attention.
Oh, you didn't know him? Yeah,
that's perfect. That's a perfect backup.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's a guy where he can come in and you can still run the same type of offense that you did with Jalen Hurts, unlike what you had with Gardner Minshew last year.
Oh man,
so.
Well, yeah, I agree with DeAndre. I mean, honestly, it's like when you look at like teams like that lost guys, it was more depth. It wasn't like they're star-studded guys that like. Sell out seats and make the big plays when it matters. It's more just rotational pieces that help. So easily replaceable. They'll figure it out.
They have the draft pits to do it as well.
Exactly. Because they fucked y'all over.
Hey, if Trevor Penning pens out, then I'm okay with that.
Got to get that anger problem initiative. Got to get that sorted out.
Hey, let him. He'll figure it out.
He also got to learn to stop murdering his teammates in practice.
Oh my God. I'll never forget that interview right before the draft. Like, so what's your favorite part about football? Hitting people. What? Like, he needs to be on the no-fly list.
He loves watching horror movies on the side.
He has some thoughts.
Yeah.
he gets motivated different than other guys, I think.
He needs to be institutionalized. That's what he needs to be.
Anyway. Obviously, what was interesting was the Bengals kind of came out of nowhere with the big signing of Orlando Brown Jr., which is kind of weird because, last year they signed Lyle Collins, Ted Karras right at the center.
Yep.
And then
Alex
Capo, the big free agent from Tampa. And now there's rumors they might cut Lyle after 1 year.
Damn.
Jonah Williams, obviously, has come out wanted to trade.
With no leverage.
No leverage whatsoever because he's not all that great.
But don't sugarcoat. He's ass.
So the Bengals come away with once again the mantra being protect Joe Burrow at all costs. So they get Burrow, and then look, you're Dolphins, DeAndre. I don't know what you said to the Rams. The Rams must be just scrapping for picks at this point. But I think to net a third, to give away a third for Jalen Ramsey to pair with Xavier Howard.
Hey, we also traded Hunter Long, our tight end, man. I think that's a fair trade.
I thought he was the damn long snapper. When he said that, I was like, they traded a long snapper?
He barely did shit for us, so it was fine moving on.
Yeah, but I think to do all that to get Ramsey, and on top of that, I think the move of the offseason was the Dolphins landing Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Who is probably one of the best defensive minds in football. You have several good young players. Christian Wilkins. You have Jerome Baker, Jalen Phillips, the pick from last year or 2 years ago?
Javon Holland.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, Javon Holland.
Bradley Chubb, who was great under
Right.
Fangio.
Brandon Jones, the safety from Texas, who's kind of coming into his own.
Yeah.
Like, they have pieces, and then you have one of the best corners in football on top of all that. And you give up a third-round pick. So just A+ for the Dolphins.
I definitely agree. I think defensively last year, our coverage was bad, having to rely on Xavier Howard to cover a lot of receivers last year because that man was getting burnt. And it wasn't like, because Xavier Howard, like, he's definitely fell off, but he's not like that bad to a point where like, oh, he needs to be cut or he needs to be released. But he just needs someone on that other side that can kind of take some of those number one receivers that he's so used to dealing with throughout all his whole career. So I think Jalen Ramsey was a great pickup. Also, Jalen Ramsey is underrated as a tackler. And a big hitter at that corner position. So I think he'll help a lot with stopping the run defense as well. But I like Jalen Ramsey, bro. He got that dog in him. You need dog mentality, something that this defense needs and something that Vic Fangio likes in his guys. And that's why Ramsey is a perfect fit.
My only question is, with the way he was utilized on the Rams is like kind of a roamer, hybrid safety corner, kind of like small linebacker. Like, I feel like that's what his game is now and what he's played best at. How do you guys utilize that in your defense? I will say, I do not watch a lot of Dolphins games.
Yeah.
Because I value my time a little too much. Either way, a little shot at the Dolphins. I think you needed a cover corner. That's what Byron Jones was, but obviously injuries falling out with the team. I mean, maybe he kind of keeps that safety role. Maybe use Holland and because I feel like he was good little corner, kind of cover corner.
Because Holland sometimes stepped up in nickel packages as well. But I think we had a great. We had Kader Kahu, who was playing on the opposite side last year of Xavier Howard, undrafted rookie out of A&M Commerce. But I think he'll move into that slot cornerback role. Xavier and Howard, you'll probably have Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard as your outside corners. Personally, because Byron Jones, he's great, but he's more of a zone coverage corner than Jalen Ramsey is more of that man coverage. So I think that's kind of, that's tough because Vic Fangio, looking at his defense is actually utilizes a lot of zone coverage corner concepts. So considering that Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey both play man, that's something that's interesting to figure out, especially around training camp.
Oh yeah, 100%. Got to keep your eye on that.
Yeah. I don't know though, because again, I've seen games where especially when Rams games, Jalen Ramsey wasn't covering the number one corner because he was assigned, like you said, moving around the field. So when people asked him oh, why didn't they have you on the number one receiver? He's like, well, they didn't have me playing him. That's not what I'm supposed to do. So we'll see how it is for Miami this year, if whether we put him on number one receivers. I hope so.
I just see him as again, y'all probably don't watch a lot of Oklahoma football, but with our new defense now, we have a cheetah, which is a hybrid safety linebacker, speedy guy. And I feel like that's what Jalen Ramsey is, even though there's not really that position in the league.
Right.
So again, great pickup for the price. I think this is also good for the Rams because I think sneakily people don't realize the Rams are pretty good at developing secondary talent. They've kind of just had random guys that they draft on the lower end because they don't have draft picks. Like
Troy Hill or some guys.
Yeah, Troy Hill.
Darius Williams,
a couple other guys. List goes on, but they develop talent pretty well considering they don't have high draft picks ever.
Taylor
Rapp.
They
trade them away.
Taylor Rapp.
So I think this is good for the Rams. This is a good building block to rebuilding slowly but surely.
Yeah. And then, assuming what happens this year, you could easily get out of the Stafford contract next offseason.
Yeah.
And then say if, you want to just blow it up, you can get certainly a good, amount of capital in return for Cooper Kupp or Aaron Donald, if that's the route you decide to go.
Hey, Rams trying to get Caleb Williams. They try and bring the USC guy to LA.
Do they even own that pick next year?
No, they got
their first next year?
They got their first next year.
They do?
First. Yeah, they still
for sure. We know for sure. I thought they were clean of picks for till 2027 in the first round.
I think they have their first next year. I'm pretty sure.
I hope so.
Because who has their first this year? That's
Detroit.
Detroit for
Detroit.
Stafford, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Unless next year might be. I'm going to fact check it.
Because I think because Detroit had staff, because They got a first for Stafford from this year, and then didn't they get the first from last year?
They have a first next year.
Okay.
They do.
Okay. Then they're tanking for Caleb then. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Or Drake May.
Or Drake May, yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll get Caleb, and they'll bring in Cliff to come over with them because Cliff's now back at SC.
USC.
That's some shit.
Yeah,
He signed to be that.
Offense
Be
coordinator.
the head coach. It's like 2 days later, Cardinals called, jumped ship, went to the Cardinals, stunk it up there, fucked up that franchise. Oh, he was a part of the fuck up of the franchise. I'll say.
yeah.
Cafeteria food being bad, that's a big thing. Nevertheless,
Paying for it is even worse.
Paying for the shit. Paying for
for
ass
it's
food is
worse.
something else. But
Went to Thailand.
went to Thailand for what he said was an extended vacation.
Vacation.
Was there 3 weeks. Like, you know what? I want to coach again.
Yep.
And then Southern California calls. It's like, hey, you want to come over here, Cliff?
QB
Alright.
coach or offensive consultant, I think
Specialist
this
or
is.
yes, something that will get him to work himself back up.
Something you could add to a resume.
And he's working with Lincoln Riley, who you can't fail with Lincoln Riley at SC.
Yeah.
At least this year you can't.
And especially, I mean, when you have Caleb Williams
Yeah.
as a quarterback.
Don't know who the fuck he's going to throw the ball to, but here we go.
Hey, USC
it's-
got some receivers, man.
Who?
You ain't been watching?
Who?
Well, they got a Dorian Singer transfer from Arizona, first team All Pac-12.
Oh, he was good. Okay,
So
he was good. He was
you got
cool.
him. You got Mario Williams returning
Don't. Mario Williams is ass.
as a slot third receiver.
He was supposed to be receiver number 2. He had 400 yards last year. Again, like the same numbers he put up at Oklahoma.
Okay, that's fair. Who else they have? Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice.
I'll never buy the hype of like getting a Hall of
Sons
Famers
of
kid.
athletes.
It never works.
I think. Look, USC they have one in Dorian Senior, and then the rest are very good complementary guys. Like they all could be like great rotational receivers. I don't think they have a designated number 2 or 3.
Which I mean, that's basically what Lincoln Riley's offense is. Like you have a main guy you feed, and you get him 100 catches a year. Everybody else, you kind of
Exactly.
just get in where you fit him.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, I
Either
mean,
way.
little college
they'll be
football talk
okay.
there.
Yeah.
They'll be okay. I mean, they're gonna go to the Big Ten, right?
going to the Big Ten
Big Ten.
next year.
Next year,
Yep.
you'll run that conference.
Oh my! Lincoln Riley's defense has never stopped the run very well. They're gonna get.
No,
that.
I guess they do run up there. Up
Michigan's
north
running
all
that
the
ball.
time.
They
They run the ball. They run up there in the north. You're
Yeah,
right.
especially in November, December when that shit is cold.
Oh hell no!
Them Cali boys, them Cali boys ain't gonna be prepared for it.
Mm-mm.
Another thing I want to point out: the Las Vegas Patriots. They're a thing
Yeah.
again. Once again, a former Bill Belichick disciple is going out there and signing former Patriots. As the Raiders brought in Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Myers. The Raiders are weird to me, and I know Javante is not here to defend his team, but obviously I feel like for them to move on from Derek Carr only to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo
Yeah,
is a choice. Because to me, they're the same tier of quarterbacks.
because you really
There's not that much of a drop off between the two.
Yeah, like you really needed like a big splash, especially in that division where you have the Chargers coming up, the Chiefs are coming up, Broncos. We'll see with Sean Payton as head coach. Like you needed a big splash, and I mean, the only splash you could have made was probably Rodgers or Brady, but so
Hey, Brady's still on the table.
Brady is
He's,
still
I know he's sitting by the phone.
on the
somewhere.
table, but I'm pretty sure he's retired at this point.
He don't got to worry about a wife anymore. So
I don't know, bro. Hey, is he? I heard Tom Brady messing with Reese Witherspoon.
No way.
Yeah, I heard there was a rumor that they were dating.
Hey,
interesting.
that's a choice.
Yeah.
That is a choice.
That is a choice,
and they
Tom.
chose wrong. I'm not a Derek Carr fan, but damn, that's going from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo. I couldn't sell my fans on that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'd rather just rock out with or shit. Trade for one of these like young. Try to trade for Lance. Try to trade for Malik Willis. Like I'd go in on a young guy.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
Like
Something.
basically you're selling your fans on a chance of maybe being the number 2 team in the division or being number 3 and hopefully having one of those years where 3 AFC teams or 3 teams from the same division get in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Like that's what you're banking on as a Raiders fan.
With that roster, I don't know about that. No Darren Waller now.
Yeah,
Hunter, you're gonna ask a lot more to Hunter Renfro. I don't think he has much more to give because his body's starting to give out on him.
Foster Moreau.
Foster Monroe is, that whole thing.
And the defense still was a major issue.
Defense, huge issue.
Because-
They traded Darren Waller and replaced him with OJ Howard and Austin Hooper.
Yep.
So
Yuck.
I guess you're moneyballing it, right? That's the
That is the Oakland way of doing things.
that's the philosophy, right? Moneyballing it.
Nah,
If Darren Waller had 400 or however many yards last year, combine OJ and Hooper, they could do that
yeah,
for a quarter of the price.
Hey, it's not as bad as the Al Davis way back in the mid 2000s when he was just drafting for speed every damn draft class.
4-3, sign.
Yeah, 4-3.
Darius Hayward Bay. Welcome to Oakland.
Over Michael Crabtree. Yeah, let's pick him.
Jamarcus Russell over Calvin.
Yeah, let's go.
Pretty much the entire Mike Mayock era. Colin Farrell.
Oh my god, dude! Cleveland and in Cleveland Farrell's defense, cool player. He cool special teams guy. He's a team guy. Good leader. But going before Josh Allen,
yep,
boggles me.
I'll never forget. It was that week 1 Monday night game when they hosted Baltimore in Vegas for the first time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that game and their first punt. I'm out there and I'm like, is that Cleveland Farrell out there on punt?
A former top 5
out here getting special team snaps.
Remember when they reached for DJ Hayden?
Oh, I do remember that.
Houston.
See, I don't call that draft class out as much because we topped that shit when we drafted Deion Jones, number 3 overall.
You did do that.
We did that over Lane Johnson, who was still on the board.
Oh man, that's funny.
He would have been.
That was a real bad draft. 20, what was that, 13, right?
Which one?
That's the draft class, 2013, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
2013. Yep.
That's a really bad draft now that I think about it.
Damn, Deion
That's a bad draft.
Deion Jones is gonna be a hell of a Jeopardy answer one day.
Oh, Deion Jordan.
Deion Jordan.
Deion Jones.
I'm already fucking it up. I'd lose. There go my points.
Who is?
Yeah.
It's a real bad draft. Real bad. And then obviously the team we were talking about just, a little bit before we started, the team me and DeAndre were riding all year last year, the Lions. They go out, kind of retool their secondary. They signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to be their new safety. They added Cam Sutton from the Steelers, Emmanuel Mosby from the 49ers. And in doing so, they traded away Jeff Okudah for a 5th-round pick to Atlanta. But Detroit, that division's kind of up for grabs now, I think, with the Packers. One way or another, I don't think we'll have Aaron Rodgers, whether he retires or is ultimately traded to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings, I think that's a team that's kind of just slowly, on that downhill trend.
Sadly.
Yeah. And then the Bears, I think the Bears are trending up, but, we got to see how they handle this draft and if they can hit on it.
Yeah.
With all of the picks Carolina gave them and DJ Moore.
They definitely had a great offseason
Yeah.
just from trading those pits, getting DJ Moore along with those pits.
Tremaine Edmonds.
Yep.
Tremaine Edmonds. I didn't think he would go there, but that great pickup right there. TJ Edwards, another linebacker that was impactful.
Nate Davis,
Yeah.
the guard from Tennessee.
Yep.
So.
Huge pickup there.
And then, letting Montgomery walk, which then opens it up for Khalil Herbert, who one could argue was more efficient last year and the year before when given the opportunity.
Mhm.
Montgomery went to the Lions, didn't he?
Yeah.
He stayed in the division.
Yeah.
And they signed Deontay Foreman, who was very good that after they traded Christian McCaffrey in Carolina.
Yep. So I think with Detroit, obviously the Lions have been very adamant about keeping Jared Goff, and they believe in Jared Goff. And I think last year he showed you that. He's the guy who could probably get you to the playoffs, and then, that's likely where it ends. But in this day and age, who knows, right?
Yeah.
So the Lions, to me, I think they're trending upwards as well. Who would think in 2023 we're saying that finally? After the Matt Patricia era, it's finally over.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument when we get closer to the season that the Lions are the favorite for the NFC North, which is something that we never really ever say.
With Jared Goff at quarterback.
Yeah, with Jared Goff at quarterback.
No. The only head scratcher to me was the money they gave Cam Sutton. What market did Cam Sutton have to where was it 3 years, 40? 42?
Yes.
So it was something like that.
Well, because he played. I'm not going to say he played. He was a great player in Pittsburgh, but he was very good. Also, he can play all positions.
He has,
at corner.
versatility.
He can play inside, outside. So.
I feel like I get where they're coming from as far as building a brand of hard worker, tough nosed guys that get knocked down, they get right back up, they keep clawing and scrapping. But I wouldn't want to pay that kind of money for a guy that's just that in my eyes.
3 years for 33.
Damn.
22 and a half fully guaranteed.
I still got time to slim up a little bit. that dream's dead.
If you felt like they reached for Cam Sutton, at least you can look at it as it's kind of offsetting considering what they got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for.
And he got 1 year, was it 6?
9 or 6, yeah.
Somewhere around that.
Funny enough, oddly enough, what New Orleans offered Chauncey initially before they traded him was a better deal than what he got in the last 2 deals.
Damn.
Yeah.
Life comes at you fast, huh?
Yep. They offered him a multi-year deal that was worth more than the last 2 deals combined.
And didn't Philly offer him a lot too?
And Philly offered him like a 2 or 3 year deal with front loaded.
Yeah.
But he wanted, more, obviously. And Philly said, okay, well, we got other moves to make. So this offer is not going to be here very long.
But then again, did he really lose? Because it's like he almost won a Super Bowl. And now he's on a team that's trending upwards.
Yeah.
And the Saints are kind of like, not down, but they're kind of neutral right now. Like it could do this, it could do that. So
yeah,
I think he won in the larger scheme of more than just money.
As far as leaving New Orleans, for sure. Philly, that's kind of...
Yeah, now we got that Saints jab, and you feel good now?
No, that wasn't a jab. That's just me being honest about
that. Was a jab.
I got to see the Saints, how they handle this draft.
I would take that personally.
Yeah.
Like I got his Dolphins jab in, and I was Saints jab in.
Just being honest.
No, but I think for Chauncey, for the Lions defense, who has, Aiden Hutchinson, who I think last year really kind of proved he was worth that top overall selection. As a defensive lineman, he had 3 or 4 picks.
Yep.
Crazy.
JJ Watt-esque.
Yep. They have Hutchinson, they had Malcolm Rodriguez, who was the hard knock star last year.
Mm-hmm.
Already there, they have Olawari, who I believe led the NFL in picks 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose Jeff Okudah, which to me was kind of crazy in the sense of he was a former top 3 pick.
Mm-hmm. They just played really well.
Yeah. He had a really good year this year.
After injury played seasons 2 years prior.
And you net a 5th for him. Do you talk about life comes at you fast for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? Look at Okudah.
I feel like that had to have been like a something internally.
Yeah, that was more say of what Detroit wanted to move on rather than a team came up and offered it.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I think Jeff Okudah's worth at least a 3rd round.
I'd give a 3rd.
Yeah, and I think you sign 2 corners, and like you mentioned, the versatility of Sutton. Mm-hmm. I think Okudah's kind of limited in that right now. He's an outside guy.
Yeah. Also, Gardner-Johnson, the versatility of him, he can line up in nickel as well. So
yeah, so it makes sense. But so he's in Atlanta, has completely retooled their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Okudah, they just signed Bud Dupree earlier. Jesse Bates, the big free agent signing, and then they signed a couple former Saints and Caden Ellis and David Onyemata to completely retool their defense in what should be a wide open NFC South,
as it will be.
Yeah, it will be.
Well, it's not wide open for them because they have no quarterback.
I still have to wait to see on draft night what every team does before I have a favorite in the NFC South. It's still kind of midst for me right now.
I think it's New Orleans right now by default. Getting Derek Carr makes them the best right now.
Well, it's the only team with a quarterback right now.
Yeah,
everybody else is like, guys, we have questions.
They have a top 10 defense.
I'll tell you what, the Panthers, bro, I would still watch out for them.
Depending who they draft at 1.
Depending on who they draft. I think a CJ Stroud-led Panthers team surprisingly could make the postseason.
Wouldn't it be chaos if they take Anthony Richardson number 1?
Okay, then they're not making the postseason.
But I'm saying, would it be chaos if they did that draft night?
I mean,
because then everybody's calling Houston's probably taking Bryce Young because that's the only quarterback they're sold on is Bryce Young.
Then teams are definitely calling up Arizona
because then you get the Stroud race.
Levis.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're the Panthers and you're looking for a guy, I'm not looking at X and O's. I'm just looking at the basis of a guy that fits the roster. I see Bryce as a better fit because Bryce in his first year as a starter obviously had a loaded receiver room, but this past year he proved that you can have a subpar receiver room and he can still put up numbers. Yeah. It took a very much lackluster Alabama team and won 11 games and won a bowl game. Yeah. So,
yeah, and I mean, here's the thing about Bryce Young, and then we'll get into the draft more in deep a little later, but I'm going to get both of y'all's thoughts on this. To me, the only knack on Bryce Young is simply his size. I think everything about him from his ability to throw the ball, his pocket presence, his just general football IQ, it's top notch. There's no question about that. He's quarterback 1. But again, if you're going to tell me the size is a concern, we'll look at, Drew Brees. He's a Hall of Famer. Russell Wilson could be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done.
Yep.
Say what you want. Baker Mayfield for those couple years in Cleveland was good. Mm-hmm. Kyler Murray, size to me is not a problem in the NFL at quarterback anymore.
Yeah.
Because we've seen you can play if you're below or right at 6 foot.
His ass is below.
And
Him and Kyler standing next to each other, and Kyler's taller than him.
yeah,
So
he's like 5'10".
yeah, 5'10".
But you can do
5'9"
it. His size to me isn't a problem.
The only problem I see because like Kyler Murray was kind of like a little bit bulkier.
Bigger, yeah.
You know, like that's the thing. Like, yeah, he definitely has to add more weight when he gets to the league.
He's
but-
like built like Lamar, but he has like Lamar's body build.
yeah.
but 5 inches shorter.
Yeah.
Which is,
I mean,
go ahead.
well, I was going to say I don't think Carolina's taking Bryce Young though. I just don't see them because they made that trade with Chicago like right after the NFL Combine. I don't see you trading all those picks for a guy that you didn't get a chance to see work out.
So do you think
You
it's
know?
Stroud?
I think it's probably Stroud.
You think it's Stroud?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
If I'm them, I'm just careful about that because Stroud gives me Carson Wentz vibes, and not from a player standpoint, but just mentality wise. Like he's very
Gets in his head.
gets in his head when things aren't going the right way, kind of like shuts down. And the biggest thing, my favorite thing about Bryce Young, I've been watching him since high school, is his composure. His dad is a psychologist, I believe. Pretty sure a psychologist. And like you could tell that like as a kid, he really harped on him about like how you carry yourself when things aren't exactly going your way, how you bounce back, have a
Right.
positive mindset, lift up your teammates. He's what I want Kyler to be as a leader. So Bryce Young's QB1 to me, no questions about it. CJ Stroud's cool, but to a team that doesn't exactly have top end talent at the receiver position, I would hesitate. If I'm Carolina, I'd
Yeah.
hesitate.
And not to mention, these teams picking you're picking in the top 10 usually because
You're bad.
there's some dysfunction at any kind of level, whether it's ownership, GM, coach, or just the roster in general. So I think for guys like Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, if they go in the top 10, they have to fall in the perfect situation where everything can work out for them.
Yeah.
Because if not, they'll fall and they'll be backups. Ultimately, in my opinion.
Well, especially for a guy like Anthony Richardson, because like he has definitely like the highest ceiling out of any quarterback prospect in that class, but then he has such a low floor that if things ultimately fall for him, like if he's not on the right team, not right system, and like his first opportunity he screws up, he's not going to get a second chance like those guys will.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, pretty much like. Well, I'm not going to say it's almost similar, but it's like Malik Willis in Tennessee this year. Like that was a guy who a lot of people wanted to say could go in the first round, him and Pickett, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a very quarterback-friendly class. He goes in third round, and in some starts this year, he just did not look well, given that roster, given that offense, was riddled with injuries and whatnot. And now it's reported that Tennessee has fallen out of favor with Malik Willis already.
Yeah, talking about taking Will Levis now, like that's not going to solve any fucking problems because you have a guy in front of both of them that's paid $72 million still, like over the next like 2 years. And it's like,
so, yeah, Tennessee's weird. I don't know. They could be, but I will say Tennessee could be like the shocker team draft night one. Like if somebody's trying to make a move to get a quarterback, you have picks, but then you also have a guy like Derrick Henry who could be available on the last year of his deal.
Or if you said, because I know you said earlier, like if Houston passes on a quarterback, you said this before the show.
Yeah.
You said if Houston passes on a quarterback, and number 3 with Arizona, Tennessee
wide
can make
open.
that trade
Yeah.
to get a guy like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, whichever one.
Derrick Henry, it's been reported Kevin Byard isn't happy with his contract. He's one of the best free safeties in the NFL. Like Tennessee, I'm just saying Tennessee could shock people on draft night.
I mean, they did last year, trading away
AJ Brown?
for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons, yeah.
I mean, it's just if I'm them and you're just in such a state of flux, like you have so many question marks everywhere. I don't think you trade for sure things right now because it's like Derrick Henry is amazing and he's all the yards. I mean, the accomplishments, in the regular season and all those things. But he doesn't have a market outside of Tennessee because nobody's offense is built like a 90s, early 2000s run downhill, pound the ball 40 times a game type offense. And he doesn't have anything in the run game. Oh, not run game, pass game. And he doesn't really pass block very well for a bigger guy, which you would think he would. So I think he's niche. So it's like, why not keep him, let him see what's out there for him in free agency next year and just sign him back for what he's worth. Because he's not going to get top running back money.
No.
He's very much going to get Zeke treatment.
Yeah.
Undeservedly so, but it is what it is.
It's a passing league now, and he's gotten Tennessee was the one exception to that rule.
Yeah.
With Derrick Henry.
And the fact that they were successful getting to a far enough point in the playoffs based on a running game,
Mm-hmm.
so. But hey, they realize we can't get further than where we've been relying on this run game with Derrick Henry. So I don't know what they're going to do. Ryan Tannehill, injury prone last year.
Has a lot of money attached to him.
Yeah, has a lot of money attached to him. You just let go of Robert Woods, who you traded for from LA. So you got to fix that receiving core in Tennessee as well. So they definitely got a lot of things to answer for before they can jump up for a quarterback at number 3.
Yeah.
Or trade up for a quarterback.
Exactly. If my projected number one receiver has asthma, I'm not trading for a quarterback right now. And that's no knock on people with asthma. I love Burks, but yeah, I think we got some other questions, other holes to fill before we look at quarterback.
But if you're Tennessee, what do you do at this point? You're kind of just in the middle of the pack.
Exactly. Just rock out, win 5 games next year, and I don't know, maybe throw yourself in contention next year for a quarterback. Figure it out first.
Yeah. I mean, they have some pieces, but now it's just a matter of what do you do?
Exactly.
And they'll figure it out. One team I do want to get my roses to very quick, that being the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. Simply because Jerry Jones and the Cowboys did very un-Cowboy-like things this offseason and traded, I think, for 2 very key contributors of Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore. Not to mention, they were comp picks you gave away.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, it virtually costed you nothing. On top of that, they were able to bring back most of their own players. Mm-hmm. Bringing back Van Der Esch, who's going to be, the key linebacker 2.
On a cheap, 2-year, $10 million deal?
Yeah, I mean, you lose Connor McGovern, your left guard, but I feel like you can address that easily in this draft.
Yep.
Either at the first or second round.
Mm-hmm. Or you're moving Tyler Smith inside to left guard.
Yeah, because you're gonna keep Tyron. Yeah, or Tyron's still here. Mm-hmm. So to give up 2 fifths for arguably a guy who just a couple years ago was a legitimate shutdown top 5 corner, and you added some more speed to the wide receiver room where the Cowboys notoriously have not gotten separation.
Mm-hmm.
It's positive.
Just please, for the love of God, don't draft a receiver first round. We don't need it, please. Please. And I know they're going to take the one I don't want to. They're going to take a Jalen Hyatt. I don't like in the Cowboys offense, or
Quentin Johnson.
Yeah. Just please give me Zay Flowers and I'm cool.
That's a good one. Or if you're going to take someone similar to Zay Flowers, I would say wait till the 3rd round. Get a guy like Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma.
I love me some Marvin Mims, yes sir.
Sure you do.
Add some more speed through the draft receiver, but you don't need to add a top one right in the first round. You have other positions to fill. If a running back such as Bijan falls to them, or you take Jahmyr Gibbs, that's fair with the pit they have. But you can also still add another corner to just make that secondary, just add more depth to that secondary.
And just not let Kelvin Joseph get any more snaps.
Yeah.
Oh, Kelvin Joseph needs to be in a penitentiary.
He did that crime, right?
He did that shit.
He did that crime, right?
He did that shit. What they say about OJ, he did that shit.
He should have confessed.
Should have.
But I'm impressed by Dallas, bro. I honestly I was like, damn, Jerry's making these moves. This invasion of the body snatchers. Someone snatched up Jerry Jones, replaced him with someone who looks like Jerry Jones, and he's making all the moves.
Yeah.
This some I never seen Jerry make have an off season like this.
I mean, especially when you consider how wide open the NFC is. If you can get 2 veterans on team friendly deals and not cost you virtually anything, go for it.
Please just address the quarterback situation, please. I beg.
Oh, yeah, you're not the biggest Dak fan, are you?
Dak is the reason I have 5 gray hairs in the back of my head.
Who you gonna replace Dak with at this point?
Anybody. Fuck, I can't do it anymore.
Sean Clifford.
God.
Take the kid from Penn State.
Don't do that. Don't give me a 27-year-old.
Trade for Matt Corral. Carolina's trying to trade him away. There you go.
Trade for Mac Jones.
Sign Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay, maybe I was wrong about anybody.
You want Jameis? Oh, don't actually hesitate about bringing Jameis in.
I want to change the pace.
You want Andy Dalton?
Tyler Huntley?
He was a Pro Bowler.
I take Tyler Hunt. Fuck it.
He was a Pro Bowler. Huntley was a Pro Bowler.
And that little skills challenge, he showed me he can actually throw the ball.
It's like they show you the tape, and all it is just the ESPN coverage of the Pro Bowl.
That 50 seconds showed me more than 5 years of Dak has. So,
sheesh.
Pass.
Okay. Speaking of Dak and other quarterbacks, let's talk about some of the latest quarterback news. That being obviously Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. It hasn't happened yet officially. Will it happen? We just quite simply don't know. It's kind of interesting how this has turned out for this whole saga so far, to say the least, right? Because it's just, is it going to happen? They keep saying it is, but we don't know what the comp is. Apparently they're not. Apparently one report one day will say, oh, they're very close on the comp and it's going to be done. Then the next day it's no, they're very far apart on comp.
Yeah.
So I think it's because the Jets do not know, nor do they have a commitment from Rodgers on how long he plans to play in New York. That's the problem, I think.
I mean, I say the sooner the better for both teams, because for the Jets, you want to get Aaron Rodgers into that offseason program with those Jets receivers, get them familiar.
But is he going to do the offseason program, though? He didn't do it in Green Bay.
I mean,
there are stories of new receivers that come in, rookies, and Aaron didn't show up to training camp.
I mean, hey, new team, new mindset. He just might.
I think Favre said the same thing, didn't he? That's why he did some things in New York
that were questionable.
Yep,
he's done some other things that are questionable, allegedly.
But for the Packers, they could use those picks, because right now their team is very lackluster. They got to surround Jordan Love with some talent, so that's another thing that you want to get those picks so you can make some moves. So I feel like the sooner the better. Obviously, I don't know what's really holding up trade negotiations right now in between those two teams, but we know it's gonna happen at this point. It's just a matter of when. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is trying to wait till draft night, so he's the biggest news of the night.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So he's once again the talk of the night.
Yep. Yeah. Like he was last year in the first round. But.
Yep. Well, what do you think, Makai?
Aaron Rodgers is just a dickhead. It's funny though. It's funny. Like, I mean, when you're him and you're as good as you are, you hold the leverage, no matter if you're exclusively in the talks or not. Like, you just, because in his position, I mean, he's made his money. No matter if he retires or not, he's going to get that money. So, what else does he have to prove? He already won a Super Bowl. A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of the greatest quarterbacks ever never won one. He has one already.
Dan Marino.
Yeah, I think a side note on that, I think Tom Brady ruined that for everybody. Like, I think Brady has set the standard, like, to be like one of the greatest with like 6 rings. Like, I appreciate one if you have it.
Yeah,
like that's still an incredible feat, no matter what. If you want a ring as a starter quarterback,
but now you got guys like Pat Mahomes, in 6 years has won 2 Super Bowls already.
It's been in the AFC Championship every year. Like every year, every year,
pretty
right?
much every year, I think so. Yeah,
yeah. So, yeah, but like you were saying, I think a guy like Rodgers. Obviously, the Jets were very focused on him from day one of the offseason. You know, they met with Derek Carr. They ended up passing on him. They passed on Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's really Aaron Rodgers or bust.
Aaron Rodgers or Joe Flacco for another year.
Yep.
Yeah, probably even be Zach Wilson. It's going to be Joe Flacco.
Oh, that makes my stomach hurt. That makes my stomach hurt. Ugh. Couldn't be a Jets fan. That sucks.
Yeah, I'm glad. And the other another tidbit of news being, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens went on sign Odell Beckham to a surprisingly very, very, very hefty contract. 1 year for 15, but with incentives, it makes up to 18. And it looks like Odell has been in talks with Lamar throughout this process, and obviously, it looks like he's under the impression that Lamar Jackson will be a Raven, which is why he's signed. Now, obviously, Lamar has not signed the tag yet, which kind of complicates things. But what do you guys think Lamar Jackson will be a Raven when the season starts?
Yes. Yeah. Hell yes.
Will he be playing?
He'll be playing. And the fact that him and Odell been FaceTiming, been in Miami partying and shit, like he's playing this year. I'm pretty sure Lamar. That was one of Lamar's asks for him to play this year for the Baltimore, was to get a guy like Odell. Like, I'm pretty sure the Ravens asked Lamar who he wanted at this point in free agency. Odell was one of the options. They overpaid for him for sure, but I mean, that's what you got to do to get your QB back on the same page.
Yeah. What do you think, Makai?
I mean, I just think from the Ravens standpoint, like, all this could have been prevented if you just gave the guy the money he's asking for. And I get it, the whole like,
I mean, he's asking for a full guaranteed, like Deshaun Watson type deal.
Shit, but
you giving him that
MVP?
Injury play the past 2 years.
If DeAndre, not DeAndre,
Deshaun.
If Deshaun got that off after what he's done, he's been in the playoffs once. got his ass. They had a 21-point lead, lost that fucking game.
Yep.
And then, other than that, hasn't done anything else in his career of substance besides flashes.
But also, Deshaun had other teams
He
lined
did
up
flash
for him.
people. You're right.
So so other teams were bidding on him. You had to top what other teams were giving him. They let Lamar test the waters. No one was bidding for
Which
Lamar.
is the dumbest shit.
Well, I think that's because NFL teams look at Cleveland and go, "Yeah, you fucked this up for all of us."
Yeah. So I mean, could the NFL have made a collaborative effort to silence teams on Lamar Jackson when he was in the market? Possibly, but we saw what it is. Nobody signed him. Nobody offered to trade those 2 first-round picks for him.
And I get it. I get it to a degree.
Where did that bring you? Back to me.
But I don't know, man. If I'm Lamar, it irks me. It really irks me, and it's just I'd sign the tag now, but as soon as I get a chance to just split away from this team completely scot-free, I'm doing it because you disrespected him. Like he's a top echelon quarterback in this league. Granted, injury things, but it's like you got to think like he plays a very physical style of quarterback. Granted, it's finessey. He makes guys miss, but it's taxing on your legs. The offensive line for the most part, it's.
But that's what I'm saying. Like for Lamar's perspective, like that's why I'm trying to get this full guarantee. That's why I'm trying to get this big dollar contract because I am putting my body on the line each and every game. But from the Ravens' perspective, it's like, hey, I'm seeing this guy put his body on the line. That means he's having a bunch of wear and tear. I don't know if he'll last long with us if we give him this contract.
And I think one tidbit to kind of take a look at is I think people are wondering why, why haven't the Colts made a move on Lamar Jackson or the Falcons or Washington, like all these teams picking in the top 15, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's simply because, say if you're the Colts, right? You have the 4th overall pick. If you know Lamar is not going to go anywhere until after the draft, why would you try and sign him when you could use that 4th pick for yourself now? And then once the draft is over, then it's your 2024, 2025 first round picks that are going to be in that trade if you do sign them, with the tag Lamar got. So if you know he's not going to go anywhere, why not wait till after the draft and then fork over your next 2 ones, but keep your top 10 pick?
That makes sense. I didn't know there was a time. I thought there was a timeline as far as like he needed to be traded for this year.
No.
Okay, so. Yeah, I mean, teams could do that. I mean, we could see on draft night Indy passes on a quarterback, then we're all thinking, oh, well, we know where this is going to
Phil Rivers again.
We know what's about to happen. Yeah, well, I mean, I honestly, I say Washington makes the most sense to me right now.
I think so too.
15th overall pick, and because of you saw all the moves in the division with Dallas, with Philly still being, I still think Philly is the front runner if you ask me. Dallas, New York made a bunch of moves this offseason, so where does that leave you, Washington? Because you haven't really made any moves, and I feel like a guy like Lamar Jackson with that offense and with Ron Rivera and that defense, they could really stand out in that NFC East.
Not to mention just with Dan Snyder selling the Commanders officially, kind of help usher in a new era for Washington fans and kind of getting away from
like
all
that
the
toxic behavior,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like who better than do it than Ron Rivera, who a guy I think is beloved universally by a lot of NFL fans for what he's been through, what he stands for as a coach. You've got like Terry McLaurin, who, again, another, I think, well-loved NFL player and respected.
Yep. I mean, he definitely has the best receiving core that he's ever had.
And then you have Lamar Jackson, who I think, again, universally, I think everybody likes Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
It's just, the only thing is, at this point, I feel like it's a little late in the process to acquire him. Because when you bring in Lamar and you want to use him to his fullest potential, more than just throwing the ball, you got to kind of base an offseason around that. You got to build a playbook. You got to have the right play caller. You got to have, you got to get everybody on the same page. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different. Like if you're a receiver, like you got to run your routes longer. You got to, your offensive line got to block a little longer. It's a process. So it's like, it's hard to get a guy this late and to be able to fully build around him as you need to with Lamar Jackson. So I think Lamar deserves it because the Ravens are on some bullshit. But because this Odell stuff doesn't move the needle. We haven't seen him play football in what, 2 years?
Yeah,
like actual football in 2 years.
And you paid him almost $20 million for a year.
But Baltimore has a history when it comes to taking a chance on aging receivers in the market. We saw what they did with Derek Mason, with Anquan Bolden, with Steve Smith, who all had great years in Baltimore following. And one bonus is that Baltimore plays on grass field, which helps Odell and his knees. So I think he could have a very like bounce back year in Baltimore, where he's back to that kind of Pro Bowl self.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess at least if you have Odell, it's a legit weapon you need to take your focus on as a defense,
Yeah,
and not just sit on Lamar Jackson and then and then try and make Sammy Watkins or Duvernay or Prochet, whoever these other guys are, to try and make a play.
and that's as you look at adding Odell to that receiving core, it actually makes it a solid receiving core now. When you look at it versus the rest of the AFC East, because you have Odell, you have Rashad Bateman, who was tremendous starting out the year, and then injuries obviously hampered him towards the end. You signed Nelson Aguilar. We all know Nelson Aguilar. He has his moments, and then he has his other moments where it's Devin Duvernay. You still have a very great depth at that tight end position with Mark Andrews and
Likely.
yeah. So
yeah, I mean, hey. And the last quarterback news we'll touch on before we get into our mock draft. Mac Jones. Patriots apparently aren't happy with Mac Jones, which I find a little bizarre, considering Mac Jones' offensive coordinator last year was Matt Patricia. So I just don't know how, if you're Belichick, you could sit there and go, yeah, Mac was the problem. Because I'm kind of an advocate for Mac Jones. I feel like he hasn't got a fair shot in New England, because his rookie year, he took them to the playoffs, showed you something of a competent quarterback in the NFL, right? And then, this year they bring in Matt Patricia, and he took like 17 steps backwards because Matt Patricia's calling the offense. And now you bring in Bill O'Brien, who, as long as he's making trades and in charge of that kind of stuff, is a good coach, I feel like. He's a good X's and O's coach.
yeah,
So I think for them to come out and kind of the reports leak that they want to trade him, they're not happy with Mac Jones. Like, if I'm Mac Jones, I would be fed up too.
I think that's more just yet kind of a motivation and a spark in Matt Jones, like for him to like want to pick up this new Bill O'Brien offense, get in touch with the playbook. Like it just makes him be on his tiptoes, make him want to get into X's and O's. I think that's just more of what it is at this point, because I don't see New England making an upgrade at quarterback over Matt Jones at this point in the offseason. So it's just more of like, I got to inspire this guy. I got to put pressure on him to excel this year with Bill O'Brien, which I think he can, because, in that Bill O'Brien offense, which is something that he's familiar with when he played at Alabama. So I just think it's more of that, just to inspire him. I don't think they're actually trying to trade him at this point.
As it should, because I just, the buffoonery there will be real in New England.
I mean, hey, you got Bailey Zappi. So, hey.
But if you're in New England, like, you didn't really make any moves in this offseason to really, like...
Didn't they add a tight end?
Who?
Didn't they bring in a tight end?
Oh, they did.
They signed Gesicki. They signed my boy Gesicki.
And you just signed Hunter Henry and Gianna Smith 2 years ago.
Yep. They signed Gesicki. They signed Juju. But, I don't know. They didn't make any moves to... Especially when you consider what the Bills are at right now, what the Jets are about to be at with Aaron Rodgers, and then obviously us adding Jalen Ramsey. They didn't make that splash necessary.
Well, I mean, they're never about splashes. They're more about the collective, more than
that is
the
true.
few.
Yeah.
So it's very Patriot-esque. It stays on brand.
And we'll see how long that brand lasts for in the NFL.
So Bailey Zappi gets put in the game.
Yeah.
Bailey Zappi comes in, becomes the Nets
Tom Brady.
I'm telling you, the arc is there, I'm telling you.
Sheesh.
Shit, people said the same thing about damn Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And that was as can't throw a football to a training camp.
Love to see it. So, Makai, I believe you have some mocks pulled up for us. We'll discuss.
Yes, sir.
You want the Mel Kiper one?
We can do both.
Okay, let's do Mel Kiper. Let's do, because Charles Davis is pissing me off looking at this list again.
Yeah, I got the Mel Kiper one.
Yeah, DeAndre, break it down. How does it play out?
So he has Bryce Young going number 1 at the Carolina Panthers.
As he should.
Makes sense.
I think Frank Wright most likely will choose CJ Stroud. I just think that's more of like a quarterback that kind of he lights in his offense, that pocket awareness. So I don't know. I feel like CJ Stroud would be my pick, but Bryce Young's not bad. 2, Houston, they go with CJ Stroud.
Which is going to be interesting how the Texans play out.
And then 3, he had a trade. He had Tennessee trading up with Arizona and selecting Anthony Richardson.
No shot.
That read option with Derrick Henry. Oh, shit.
That'd be kind of nasty, though.
That's got to be the heaviest backfield in the fucking league. That's
you're
damn near.
talking about like a PK. You're talking about like a Cam Newton with Derrick Henry in the backfield. Like his build, at least.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
God, they'd find a way to fuck it up though. No, never mind. I don't want to. They'd fuck it up.
At 4, he has the Colts selecting Will Levis. So 4 quarterbacks going in the first 4 pits.
The Colts are very unserious if they take Will Levis.
Yeah.
but
Zach Wilson 2.0.
That's
In shorts, he looks great.
That's being generous.
Ceiling though, like if he did reach his potential, I do see Matt Stafford kind of in his game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, you're right. If low point, Zach Wilson for sure. That's
He's in shorts. He can throw a football pretty well.
At 5, Seattle, they choose Jalen Carter at number 5.
Yeah. I don't think he's gonna go to the top 10.
Really?
I don't think he will. I think Carter will go in the top 10.
Oh, you think Carter would? Okay.
Yeah, like I know people were kind of hoping, like, oh, with all these off the field issues, could he fall past 10? But the talent, the NFL has shown time and time again, talent outweighs morals,
The risk.
morals.
Yeah.
So he'll go in the top 10.
It's just to me, it's just like the only thing about him was like,
His pro day was concerning though.
I mean, yeah, you show up almost 8 pounds heavier and you look like shit.
Yeah.
They ended early, didn't they?
Yeah,
Because he was cramping up or whatever.
yeah, they ended early. Like that kind of just showed like it to me. That speaks louder than the off the field concerns with all that legal stuff going on. But like, this is literally the biggest job interview of your life as as an athlete in general. This whole draft process, and for whatever reason, he dropped the ball, almost gained 10 pounds, and looked like shit. Not touching him. Not touching him.
Okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him falling. I'd probably say number 9 at Chicago, which is if you're Chicago.
Hey,
Great.
you were at one.
Yeah, basically, if a player who was projected to be number 1 2 months ago, you trade back and you get the same guy.
God.
You get 10 more pounds of him too.
Yeah, you get 10 more pounds of him. Hey, that's not a bad. Trade then if you're Chicago.
That's the last place his big ass need to be. That deep just gonna fuck him up.
Them hot dogs too.
At 6, we have Detroit Lions taking Will Anderson Jr.
God.
out of Alabama.
Can you imagine the edge in Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson on one side and Will Anderson on the other?
I like it.
God, that's disgusting.
Kirk Cousins go ahead, get his ass ate.
Oh, hand it to him. At number
Jordan
7,
Love gonna wish Aaron Rodgers stayed.
At number 7, we got Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois, going to Las Vegas Raiders.
Love it. Witherspoon's corner number 1 to me.
Yeah,
They
same
need
here.
defense.
Same here.
Just can't tackle for shit. Hey, cover though.
I like it. Number 8, Nolan Smith, outside linebacker out of Georgia, goes to the Atlanta Falcons.
It's a little high for me.
It's high. He's
Yeah.
more of an athlete than he is like a well-rounded prospect right now. I see like his peak in the draft to me is like 14. 14 is like where I would start looking at him.
Yeah.
8's a little high.
I say 10 probably would be like his highest that he could get selected, but like I can't see him going top 10, like going inside the top 10.
He's very Isaiah Simmons like, where like Swiss Army knife can kind of move him anywhere, but like he's a jack of all trades but a master of none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is concerning because it's taken Isaiah Simmons some time to figure some shit out. So.
Yeah.
Right. At number 9, Chicago Bears. They take Darnell Wright, offensive tackle from Tennessee.
Ooh.
So he's the first offensive lineman off the board.
Yeah.
Not
first
Paris
offensive
Johnson.
Not Paris Johnson, not Peter. I don't know how to say that last name.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try it.
Peter
I mean, it's a
Skoronski.
need nonetheless. And Wright he's a very good football player.
Well, he's athletic. He's got
Yeah.
length. I mean, he's the prototypical right tackle.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're Chicago, I mean, I personally think Paris Johnson would be my pick, but at the same time, you have Braxton Jones at that left side. You kind of need the right tackle, and that's something that Darnell Wright is great at playing at that right tackle position.
But it's like, did Braxton Jones like impress you enough to like say he's the left tackle?
Oh no, but also I
He
don't.
played well enough to where he can go, I can hold over.
Yeah, but the thing is, can he play right tackle? Because if I draft, let's say Paris Johnson, then I have 2 left tackles and no right tackle still.
Should I tell his? Because he was like, what, a 5th round pick?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move you over here, figure it out, or
Figure
you
it
gonna
out.
get cut. Shit, let's cut through. I'm not passing with Paris. Paris Johnson is a freak.
Mackay keeping it rough like it is.
Then my man, like he's like, 'cause I remember when Mekhi Becton came out of Louisville, and a man that size should not have ran as fast as he did for his 40 and like his strength. Paris Johnson is like Mekhi Becton, but much more, slimmer.
He's the Mekhi Becton now with that body build now.
Shout out to Mekhi Becton, by the way, dude.
Oh yeah,
he's had some tough luck in the NFL, and he's slimmed the hell down from his 300. What was he, 350?
He was like 370. He got up there.
But I mean, shout out to him, dude. Like he's put in the work this offseason. I'm rooting for Mekhi Becton.
100%.
Same here.
We love them Kais out there in the world. Rooting for you.
He played here, didn't he? In Texas? Somewhere high school?
He's from Texas, but
Mekhi
Becton? He's from Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
oh, okay. Nah, but yeah.
Okay. At 10, we have Philadelphia Eagles choosing Peter Skoronski, offensive tackle / guard out of Northwestern. I'm not high on that pick.
I mean,
for them, that makes no sense.
Yeah. I'm
not taking a guy who's known as a tackle to slide him inside because he's not going to play tackle on the Eagles.
Well, because he has a short arm, so like a lot of people think that he is going to shift inside to guard in the NFL. But
just who the Eagles have? Lane Johnson and then
Jordan
Mulatto.
Oh yeah, because Dillard's left, right?
Yeah, Dillard's gone.
Okay, so they don't have a swing tackle.
Yeah, they need a guard. They need a guard, but at the same time, like I said, you drafted Cam Jurgens last year, who can play that left guard spot if you need to.
And having Kelsey back prolongs the need for an interior guy, at least for like a starting caliber guy for like one more year at least.
If I'm the Eagles, I trade back. I trade back out of this pick.
Yeah, this would be a trade back, or you can take I would say defensive lineman, maybe like an edge rusher.
What edge though? Miles Murphy?
Yeah.
I mean,
Miles Murphy would be
he kind of gives me like Derek Barnett vibes. So mid vibes.
So like the one sack of the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I mean Tyree Wilson is still on the board, so
I don't know why people are so fascinated with him. He gives me LJ Collier vibes.
That's saying something.
That's a hell of a pull.
So and then what we have number 11, you just mentioned Tyree Wilson, goes to the Arizona Cardinals, who traded back with Tennessee.
You said Wilson goes to the...
Yeah, Tyree Wilson goes to the Arizona Cardinals.
No comment.
No comment?
He doesn't fit that defense.
Well, now that there's like two of their linebackers, and
I'm still figuring out if he's a 3-4 end or if he's a 4-3 end.
Well, he can just join Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, and they can all figure it out together.
Yeah,
because no one knows what those three do.
At number 12, Houston Texans take Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State.
They took Stroud in this mock draft, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Pair them together.
Yeah, why not?
He's a receiver too in my eyes, like long term. He's very much CD-esque, inside outside. He's not burning fast, but he'll make you miss. He'll go get extra yards, and he's tough. So
yeah,
I like him though. But CD's a 1. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's a 2. And
I mean, not to forget Houston, basically as an additional pick, and John Mechie coming back this year.
Yep, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully, assuming if everything goes well with his cancer, then he could come back, and that's like an additional counted as another draft pick this year.
And you still have Nico Collins from last year as well. So I like it.
Robert Woods.
Just
kidding.
I forgot about that. 13, you have the New York Jets selecting Broderick Jones, offensive tackle from Georgia.
Oh, they still have Dwayne Brown, right?
Yeah.
As
Then you still have Mekhi Becton.
This is like them turning the page on Mekhi Becton and kind of like being 1 foot out of the door with him, which is...
Or both tackles, too, because Dwayne Brown's like, 37, 38 at least?
The good thing about Jones is that he can play left or right tackle.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a hot minute.
I guess this, like you're saying, this move is like, next year we can move on from both of them, and we have a guy to slap in there. Yeah. So okay, I rock with it. 14,
you have Christian Gonzalez, cornerback from Oregon, going to the New England Patriots.
Interesting.
This is a very Patriot move because this guy has suddenly kind of just jumped on the board.
Yeah,
and they very much are willing to take risks. I like his size. I like his coverability. The sample size is really small, and that worries me at corner. But then again, sometimes you take those guys that are highly touted and they fizzle out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think you need corner, especially in this division where you're facing Josh Allen, you're facing the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and then obviously with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, like You need the second to shore up that secondary for sure, but I also could see New England trading back and selecting a wide receiver.
As they should.
Yeah. Because I don't like you can say like they can choose a wide receiver right now, number 14, but that again, this wide receiver class, it's not that like I wouldn't say it's deep, and a lot of people have been saying like there's not a lot of first round talent. I do think there's first round picks, but I don't think there's I don't think there's any 2 wide receivers that go in the top 15. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is the only receiver that I could see going in the top 15.
And I respect that. I respect that answer.
So
Yeah.
Number 15, we have the Green Bay Packers selecting Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah.
I mean, it's a weapon for Jordan Love.
I mean, for the Packers now you're drafting offensive weapons.
You take a damn tight end.
It's a weapon. I mean, obviously, I think they didn't bring back Tunyon, did they?
No, they lost him.
He went to the Bears.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you have a need. He's a good player.
He's cool, but I think in the first round, I'd rather take a guy with upside. Like I'd take Washington over him.
Really?
Or Michael Mayer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But then again, in that offense, I don't ever notice the tight end position. Like,
yeah.
I feel like it's very receiver heavy when they do throw the ball. So kind of questionable to me. It's very much second, third round tight end to me in the first. But that's what the Packers do. They do that head scratching.
You think Kincaid's a second or third round tight end?
Yeah, I don't think he's game changer to me. I think he's a great route runner. I think he's really good in the red zone, which you want a tight end to be.
Yeah.
But he gives me Dalton Schultz vibes. And
Okay.
I'm not drafting Dalton Schultz in the first round.
Well, I can say for one, as a USC fan, this man tore us up. So
because he was Utah's offense.
Yeah. Shit, I think what he had like 13 catches for 100-some yards against USC and Utah early in the season. Yeah, it was crazy, bro.
That shit was nuts.
It was like at that point, just put 2 people on him, man. You know he's getting the damn ball. What are you doing? Number 16, as we're halfway through this draft, the Washington Commanders select Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State.
It's a good pick.
It's good. It's a little high for me. I don't think his coverage ability is what people think it is. I think he's very
physical,
like a Cam Sutton.
Okay.
He's very scrappy.
Yeah.
I like it. Pittsburgh Steelers at number 17 select Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College.
It's cool, but I feel like because was Calvin Austin hurt last year? Or was he just getting healthy DMPs?
He was hurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got hurt during preseason.
I just feel like that makes that receiver room a little small. Because you trade a Claypool.
Yep. You got George Pickens still.
You got George Pickens.
Deontay Johnson.
I just feel like that third receiver, because Calvin Austin, I mean, being banged up, he didn't play at all in the regular season. So, like, he has no role right now.
Yeah.
If I'm them, I go, give me Quentin Johnson here instead of Zay Flowers. And for this fit. I think Zay Flowers is the better player, but I think Quentin Johnson fits a need of bigger body guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm surprised. I would have went with Paris Johnson.
He's still on the
Considering
board.
they have a need at offensive line.
Oh, he's still
on the board.
And this is Mel Kiper?
Yep.
Mel Kiper needs to ask.
Because Paris Johnson would be my pick if he's available for Pittsburgh. They need to shore up that left tackle. They have Dan Moore playing at left tackle right now. I think they need to move him to right tackle or guard or something.
Something to the bench.
Yeah. At number 18, we have Detroit Lions selecting running back Bijan Robinson out of Texas.
Interesting, because they just signed David Montgomery. You still have Swift, who's been kind of injury prone and kind of just really out. He hasn't lived up to being that number one back for Detroit. But Bijan, I mean, that's a game changer. Like, I think Bijan to me is a top 5 player overall in this draft. It's just a shame he's a running back, but I mean, that's a dog.
I just feel like this draft class being so deep at running back, I feel like you can wait.
Yeah.
Bijan is an amazing talent. He's just, it's like Alex said, top 5 prospect in this draft.
Yeah.
But he's at a position that's kind of dying as far as how highly you hold it in your mind. So,
but if he's there at 18, I mean, 18, 18, right?
18.
I mean,
I would take like, I don't know, I'd probably take like a tight end Michael Mayer or you can go with the because they drafted Will Anderson with their first pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Anderson. You can go with the secondary. You can draft a receiver. I just think offensive talent as far as receiver, tight end, maybe with that 18th pick. Because the thing about is that David Montgomery, like he's great power back, but he's also a great pass catcher out of the backfield as well. Like he's very good in that. DeAndre Swift is a very great pass catcher out of the backfield. So what are you really drafting Bijan Robinson for?
Then I feel like I forget the names of those back end running backs. But I remember watching Hard Knocks and like those other guys in the room were kind of decent.
Craig Reynolds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Craig Reynolds is cool. I mean, like they got some, and then there's other guys that just naturally won't get drafted. You could bring in, and all of a sudden now you got somebody as a third or fourth. So hold off on running back. They don't really need offensive line help. Defense. Fuck it. Take a defensive guy.
Defensive. Okay. And then at number 19, we finally have your guy getting selected, Paris Johnson Jr., going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God, he falls to them.
Yep.
Damn.
That's a perfect spot.
Him and Tristan Wirfs for the next 10 years.
Yep. They just let go Donovan Smith. I mean, if you're going to give Baker a shot with these weapons they have, he needs protection.
Yep.
And that's about as great as a fit as it could be.
That's Christmas in April for them. So.
Yep.
Or do you think that Tampa Bay should move Tristan Wirfs to left tackle?
Keep him at right.
If I'm going to if I can get Paris, I would just leave Tristan at right tackle.
Okay.
I would take the Saints approach and like you have a generational right tackle. Don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
Keep him where he needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it too. At number 20, we have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Miles Murphy, defensive end from Clemson.
He's a good football player, but it just a lot of the stuff he does is like nuance. Like he's a team player of like
Rah mentality.
No, not that. He's very much like his play style is I'm gonna eat this double team so my outside linebacker can make the tackle.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm drafting a guy in the first round, I want a guy that could be this, not a guy that's this and like it's again.
He's not a guy that's going to have like the big numbers that leads the NFL in stats or anything like along those
exactly.
lines.
Just a cool glue guy in the room, which I mean they need because they don't really have a defined edge room.
Yeah.
So I don't love the pick, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. I like it. Number 21, we have the Los Angeles Chargers selecting Jordan Addison, wide receiver from USC.
That's a slam dunk pick.
It's a good pick.
Yeah. I agree. Great pick.
That's a good pick.
He kind of reminds me of like Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
I see a lot of Calvin Ridley in his
compliment.
game. All right. Number 22, we have the Baltimore Ravens deciding to keep an in-state talent in Deontay Banks, cornerback out of Maryland.
I guess because they didn't bring back Marcus Peters, did they?
No, they didn't.
So it's Marlon Humphrey, and then I could tell you that
they were trying to get Darius Slay before he went back to Philly.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean corners I need for them.
You don't really have to select a receiver now. You're not forced to because you signed Odell.
No, he still wants that receiver.
I like the pick. If you ask me, I mean, Deontay Banks is a guy who's been rising these past couple months. I like it.
I would take Jalen Hyatt here. Granted, I'm not too high on Jalen Hyatt because I feel like his route tree is just very much non-developed, but I like his take it over the top. Very much Marquise Brown, but I think his hands are a little bit better than Marquise was coming out of Oklahoma. So, yeah, I would take Hyatt here.
Jalen Hyatt. Okay. At 23, we have the Minnesota Vikings selecting Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State.
Yep.
Good, lengthy guy.
They just lost Patrick Peterson.
But they added Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good pick.
My thing is like who plays the other outside corner position because Byron is a slot. He's one of the best slots in the league when he plays it exclusively. They released what's his face, the other Mississippi State.
Dantzler.
Yeah, Dantzler got released.
Yep.
I mean, but then again, you probably don't want to double down and get two young corners because then all of a sudden you got youth in the room and it's hectic. I don't hate the pick though. I'm not mad at it. I question how that corner room looks after going into like OTAs and stuff. I just question that.
See, I think Minnesota needs to target a receiver opposite of Justin Jefferson.
They lost Thielen. They have KJ Osborne, who is
Been
kind of like in spurts. He's really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
I think this receiver class is good enough to where you can hold off. Like I'd wait for like second, third, like a Kayshon Boutte, type guy. So I'd hold out for that.
Okay. Because I would have went with like a Quinn Johnston here, but yeah, okay. That's not a bad option as well. 24, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Lucas Van Ness, defensive end out of Iowa.
Good versatile piece that anybody needs in a defensive room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. 25, New York Giants. Wow, selecting DJ Turner, cornerback from Michigan.
He doesn't have first round grades to me.
No, same here.
Gives me Jordan Lewis vibes, which gives me nightmares.
That's a reach. And plus, New York, they need a receiver too. Like you said, you could wait to second round to draft a guy.
Well, also, didn't they lose their kid last year? They took in the second round due to an injury.
Went to
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, Wan'Dale was banged up.
Yeah, I don't think he played at all last year in the regular season.
Got hurt in OTAs, I think.
Yeah. So,
but then again, been hearing things they're not very pleased with him.
Really?
So, yeah, they're not. The leash for these like young receivers is kind of quick, but
especially the Giants. I mean, shit, you get 1 year out of Kadarius Toney, you're ready to move on from him. Same with Wan'Dale Robinson, apparently. So, you guys are gonna like this. 26, the Dallas Cowboys select Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame. Oh, you don't like it?
I want Washington.
What?
I need a guy that can run block.
I like the pick.
I mean, he's proven like this is like a surefire, like proven tight end.
I mean, yeah, he was All-American. 2 years out of his 3 at Notre Dame. I mean,
even when he's covered, he's open.
He's a stud.
But then again, he was a number one option in that offense because who the fuck else were you throwing the ball to?
It's Notre Dame.
I want Washington, man. I love his ability to block. For one, he's just huge. He has, size. He has everything I want for a Cowboys offense where you just basically gave the keys to Tony Pollard and said, "Here, you're the guy now."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm actually going to dedicate myself to a guy that can actually run block and not a guy I have to teach to.
Okay. How do you feel about the pick?
Michael Mayer, to me, is tight end 1 in this draft. Like, I think he has everything you want in tight end.
Yeah.
Dallas, they have a good collection of young guys. They took Ferguson last year. They have Hendershot, so I feel like they have a nice core already. But at the same time, I kind of feel like tight end, I guess it would be the move. Instead of that, our offensive line for me to try and replace McGovern. Because I think defensively, they're fine where they're at right now.
And if you do go guard, you probably go the guard out of TCU, right? Because he's versatile.
Steve Avila, yeah.
Or I would say the guy from Florida.
They visited. They met with him too. Yeah.
What's his name? I can't think of his name, but he's really good. At 27, the Buffalo Bills select Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson.
Isaiah Simmons. That's what I see when I watch film. I don't see a place for him in a NFL defense right now. Like, he has to pick and stick with it. So
see, I like this pick for Buffalo just because of the fact that he's a rangy linebacker, can play sideline to sideline, has blazing 4.4 speed.
Like Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah, like you need someone to replace that Tremaine Edmonds type of role. Unless you think that who was the guy they had drafted last year out of Baylor? Terrell Bernard can fill in that spot. But
I take Trent Simpson over that. Yeah. Okay.
So at 28, the Cincinnati Bengals select defensive tackle Brian Breesy out of Clemson.
It's kind of crazy. Brian Breesy used to be like a top 5 projected guy. The only thing with him is injuries. He can play a nose, he can play a 3 technique. Even in he can play a little end if you need him to. You know? So good versatile pick. I like his character. I think he's a good leader. Good pick. Late in the round, late version like this. Love it.
It's a good collection on the defensive line too, with BJ Hill, DJ Reader, Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard. That's a good collection along the defensive line.
Oh yeah.
And Mike Mayotte said Cincinnati ranked 29th in stats last season. So
did they really?
Yep.
Damn.
So interior pass rush, could kind of help that out if you get a guy like Brian Breesy. Oh, all right, Alec. At number 29, your New Orleans Saints.
Starting out Washington?
No. They select Kalijah Cansey.
From
Pittsburgh.
Yes, I like this move a lot. I think his speed at the combine, for one, was just cool to see, but also the Saints lost David Onyemata. They lost Shai Tuttle in free agency. They went and replaced it with Colin Saunders from the Chiefs, who was more of a 3-tech. If anything, he's just a big dude who can plug holes.
Yeah.
Clancy kind of gives you he could be your 1-tech, be a guy who can get upfield and take advantage of the one-on-ones. And At the end of the day, Cam Jordan is still really good at what he does. But last year with Davenport really kind of disappointing and Peyton Turner missing games, teams double team Cam Jordan and simply just took the one-on-ones. And that's why we were 24th in the league against the run. So beefing up the defensive line was a must for them this offseason. Bringing in Saunders, and they signed Nathaniel Shepard from the Jets, who is a quality rotational across the line kind of guy. So Clancy makes sense. I think that's the guy I've seen mocked to us the most. But it's a good pick.
Okay, Alec, look at you.
I know. I've seen that pick mocked to us quite a bit.
Yeah, that man been doing his scouting on Clancy. Okay, I like
it's either him or Darnell Washington that gets mocked to us a lot.
Okay, I saw a couple of mocks they had where I can't think of the Florida guard's name, but he got mocked. You guys, damn. All right, so trade. So Seahawks move back into the first round, trade with Philadelphia.
Okay.
They select quarterback Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee.
Oh, I mean, that makes sense. Given Geno, we know Geno is not the long-term solution. He signed a 3-year deal, which is cool. But also with Geno, it gives Hooker the ability to sit and learn. You're not having to play Hendon Hooker right away. The only knack I have on Hendon Hooker is one, coming off the injury is going to be a concern no matter what.
Yep.
But also the offense of Tennessee was really kind of unique.
It's air raid.
Yeah, it's not something you see a lot of in the NFL. So that, and also his age. I mean, he's going to be 27, 26.
Yeah.
If he does start next year. He'll be 26, 27, or whatever he starts. He's going to be much older.
And you signed Geno to that 3-year deal. So if you were projecting him to play
it out,
Geno,
yeah,
he'll be 29 in his first time start.
But at the same time, it's much like what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. You sneak back into the back end, you get that 5th year of control with him being a first-round pick.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson was also 21 years old, though.
I don't know what 5-year control of a guy would be 32.
He'd be 30.
I don't know.
He'll be 32 by the time. But hey, at 32, that price tag might not be that bad.
At that point, hitting the market at 32, that price is gonna be nothing.
But I mean, I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I don't hate that pick.
I don't like this pick.
I don't hate
like
it.
the pick. Let his ass part of the second round, man.
Yeah. At 31, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the first round, since there are 31 picks, because the NFL decided to
Shout out to Miami.
and take everything out on the Miami.
Shout out to Miami.
It's all good. The Kansas City Chiefs select Will McDonald for the 4th out of Iowa State.
Love the pick. This kid's versatile, steady. He gives you everything you want and a guy to build around. So
I think he's definitely one of the best speed rushers out of this class, for sure.
And the nice thing about his frame is, like, his frame, he could easily go up or he could drop some weight and become an end, like an edge, outside linebacker type. So I love this pick.
I like that. And that's all 30. Oh, I guess it's not 32 picks.
31 out of Mel Kiper's
Shout out to Miami.
2-round draft.
Shout out tampering.
You do what you do.
How about this? I'll pick. I'll tell you guys the teams that didn't pick in the first round, who they picked in the second round.
Who didn't pick besides Miami?
So
the Rams, yeah.
Rams at number 36. They selected Keon White, defensive end out of Georgia Tech.
Like him.
Like him too.
Denver didn't pick.
Denver didn't pick either.
Yeah, Denver didn't pick. Oh, by the way, Philadelphia, when they traded back from Seattle, they chose Jahmyr Gibbs.
Damn.
That's nasty.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Ooh.
Osiris Torrance, that's the guard's name. Out of
Florida? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He fell to 38 to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
Saints chose Darnell Washington.
There we go.
Number 40.
There we go.
Okay, let me get to the picks then.
So who else didn't draft?
Miami, Denver, the Rams. I want to say that's it, right? Because Detroit had the Rams pick.
No, Chargers pick.
Chargers pick.
Detroit didn't, or the Lions had the Rams pick. The Seahawks had the Broncos pick.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think that's it, yeah.
Who did Denver pick first?
Uh,
Do they even have a second round pick?
I think that was Seattle too. I think that's Seattle too.
yeah, I don't think Denver has a
Damn.
Shout out to Russ.
Well, damn, okay. All right, Miami. At number 51, we chose Steve Avila, guard.
That's a good
/ center
pick.
at TCU. I like that pick.
At what 50? What?
51.
That's good value.
Yeah,
right there.
I like that.
That's good. That's good value, but
That's good value.
I think you need a guy that actually projects to play tackle instead of another like versatile guard center.
Well, I
We
guess
for sure
you could,
need
yeah.
another. But at the same time, with this pick, I see us this basically means that we're giving Austin Jackson another chance at right tackle.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe you sign Brendan Schill. I know Kim Fleming, I think, is out there on the market. So you sign one of those guys to kind of compete with him at the right tackle spot. This says more about replacing Liam Eichenberg at that left guard spot, which he could be replaced too.
Oh yeah,
He needs to be replaced. So I like it. I like it from that.
I like that mock. It's pretty solid. There's a couple question marks, but it's a solid mock.
Okay. Well, since I told you the Saints second round pick, I'll tell you the Cowboys second round pick. It was Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver out of Ole Miss.
All right, let's wrap the show. That done pissed me off. I don't want another receiver.
Bill
He's-
Bill Kuiper pissed you off?
He is pretty good though. Like he has great hands. I'll give him that.
But then it's like, okay, so let's say he takes the receiver 4 role.
Yeah,
Then-
they definitely have other priorities before taking a receiver in the second
Yeah.
round. I
But-
agree.
It's just like I feel like Mingo and I forget his damn name now. You got all the DMPs, rookie we drafted last year.
Jalen Tolbert?
Tolbert, yeah,
Tolbert. I feel like they're the same guys. And Tolbert couldn't pick up the playbook.
Well, maybe Mingo will pick up the playbook. Maybe he'll be ready to play week 1.
Please,
That might be
no.
the difference. He might be ready to play.
Fuck that. I'd rather wait and get Marvin Mims because then now you got a pseudo, punt
Yeah.
returner because I'm not sold on what's his face.
Just
I
some
feel
of
that.
the other receivers. Jalen Hyatt went to Detroit at 55.
Damn.
It's a good pick.
Josh Downs went to the Buffalo Bills at 59.
Damn.
And Marvin Mims went to the Kansas City Chiefs at 63.
Oh, I love that for Kansas City.
So,
I love that for him.
The rich get richer.
but yeah, that's pretty much what 2-round mock draft. Mel
Yeah,
Kiper.
and we'll see how the real draft goes. We'll be doing it here. We'll get the details hammered out who all can make it.
Yeah.
But we will do a live stream here through Sour Kids Productions for the NFL draft. Should be lots of fun. We're a little short on time here, boys. So very quickly, we'll touch on it more next week when a lot more has happened. But give me one word to describe the NBA playoffs right now. Give me a word. My word is disappointing. So
For you, yeah.
yeah, for me, yeah. So
I'm gonna say chaotic. Like
Yeah.
we talked about it before the show, but I feel like the Nuggets aren't making it out of this first. It's gonna be tough, and
Yeah.
even if they do, I think they get bounced second. I could see the Sixers losing early. Like I feel like there's gonna be a low 5, 6 seed that mess around and makes the conference finals.
Oklahoma.
Don't do that. Don't do that. They made some noise by giving themselves a chance to make the playoffs, but I think they lose tonight. I think
Okay.
they lose tonight.
Yeah. I would say fresh. And the reason why I say that because it's a fresh slate, clean slate with a lot of these teams because like the Lakers are ranked as the 7th seed, but if this roster was their roster at the beginning of the season, they would be a top 5 seed in the West. So a lot of these teams made moves around the trade deadline, such as the Phoenix Suns. A lot of these teams are still trying to figure themselves out. So what you think about these teams, especially on the scouting report, is going to be very different come playoff time because a lot of these guys haven't really played a lot together. So
Agreed.
yeah, you're going to see a lot.
Yep. But that's gonna wrap things up here, guys. So until then, it's been Alec, DeAndre, Makai, and we'll see you guys next week.